Well, Donovan Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers, it is. The Celtics will start round 2 tomorrow night versus the Cavs, but I have one simple question to ask you guys before I jump into my keys to victory. My analysis of this matchup is the Celtics will beat the Cavs in blank games. Go ahead and comment down below. Do you think it's going to be a sweep in 4 games, 5, 6, or 7? Let me know while I break down the latest on Kristaps Porzingis and the matchup coming up now. What's going on, Celtics fans? Welcome into Celtics Today by Chat Sports. You got Allie Barefoot here. Tingus Pingus finally spoke out to the media about what he has been dealing with, what he's going through, and really what his timeline is with that strain soleus. And on the back half of the show, like I said, we're going to be breaking down Donovan Mitchell and the Cleveland Cavaliers. Going to be giving you guys my keys to victory, analysis, and prediction at the very end of this show about the Celtics versus Cavs preview. With that being said, I want to hear from Tingus Pingus himself. Here's what Kristaps told the media about his injury. He said, "I rolled my ankle to play before on offense. We saw that when he played the Miami Heat. He went down for a little bit, started hobbling, but he seemed to be okay. Then he said, I was going for a rebound and I stepped on Hero. Rolled my ankle, came back, maybe started to compensate with the other side a little bit too much or something. I don't know. Maybe it just happened. I don't know." And then, as soon as I pushed off, I felt something, and you saw my reaction on the court, but then once we kind of got the diagnosis, I calmed down a bit, and I realized it looks like it's not as bad as I initially thought, which Smitty and I are over here like, that's got to be an Achilles. The way his leg popped, it's got to be an Achilles. But thankfully that diagnosis came out, and he said it is what it is. Of course, nobody wants to get hurt, but at least it's not as bad as it could have been. Once again, Smitty and I are like, it's done. The season's over. That's an Achilles. He's not coming back. But we did get that report right after that it was a strained soleus, which is pretty much like a strained calf, which is the exact same thing that Giannis Antetokounmpo had. So he did update the media saying he has to wait for swelling to go down before he can really start on the treatment that he wants to be able to do. But he said a few days ago that he is going to be starting treatment this week, and that's when he'll start his recovery. He's been in the gym. He's been at practice with these guys, so he's not out of the bubble, but he does have to wait for that soleus to respond before he can start the treatment that he originally would like to do. KP then went on to talk about his timeline to the media. He said, "I'm doing everything I can to speed it up because I want to be back out there as soon as possible. I'm understanding that the worst thing would be to re-aggravate that. I'm being smart, but you would have to ask the medical people about the specifics of it. I'm kind of just following the plan, but I'm hoping for a return as soon as I start." So as of right now, KP, who's not a doctor, neither are Smitty and I, do not know the specific timeline for a Kristaps Porzingis update. But the good news is that KP is letting the media know everything that he knows. He's been walking around in the practice without a boot on, which is great. We saw him originally in a boot when he was leaving the Miami Heat arena, but it is always good to hear from the man himself, like, hey, I'm doing everything I can. Obviously, he did say he wants to have a recovery at a historic rate, but he can only do as much as the doctors will allow him. Because I've said this before, I actually posted it in my short here on Celtics Today by Chat Sports. Re-aggravating this, especially for Kristaps with the injury history that he does have, could keep him out for longer and could also really hinder the offseason as well. So I do want to make sure that Kristaps is 110% ready to come back before we do force it, even if that means not having him until the NBA Finals. I'd rather have fully healthy Kristaps than like 60% Kristaps, but he is back. With that being said, are you guys worried about the Cleveland Cavaliers without Kristaps Porzingis? Go ahead and comment why or why not. I'm going to be breaking down the Cavaliers versus Celtics preview on the back half of the show, but I want to hear from you guys real quick. Comment why you're worried or why you're not worried down below. With that being said, why don't I go ahead and give a quick shout out here to PrizePicks, our sponsor here on Celtics Today. This show is possible made by them, but we also have been playing it well before they were a sponsor, just because I love playing this app so much. It's a daily fantasy sports app. Let me rephrase that. It's the daily fantasy sports app in America right now. And if you guys are wondering how to play, all you got to do is pick between 2 to 6 players and just pick more or less on a player's projected stats, and you can win up to 100 times your money 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. I only wanted to go 2. I've got one of each playoff game happening tonight. I've got Brunson and I've got Anthony Edwards. I am always going to take the more on Anthony Edwards. This guy has been cooking for the NBA playoffs. I have him having more than 40.5 points, rebounds, and assists going up against the NBA reigning champions. And then I got Brunson on the other end. If the Knicks want to win, it's going to start with Brunson. So I have him having more than 48 points, rebounds, and assists. Plus, they're star players, which means if I do win this whole entry, it will increase my payout by 10% per star player. So why not? Here are my PrizePicks. You can copy them. I don't mind. Or you can make your own just by going to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Using that promo code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. What's not going to be easy is a matchup against the Cleveland Cavaliers. This is not the Miami Heat. This is not probably going to be a sweep. It's going to be a tough matchup, but I'm extremely excited to see how the Boston Celtics are going to respond without Kristaps Porzingis and how they're going to take on the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, Game 1 starts tomorrow, but here's a full preview of the schedule if you guys just want a visual of when and where the Boston Celtics will be playing. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, Monday. You guys see a theme here. Thankfully, the Celtics will now only have 1 day off in between games. No more waiting 3-4 days to have this series go on. But as you can see, the first 2 games will be in the Boston area just because they have one home court advantage until the NBA Finals. With that being said, I just mentioned it. It's not going to be easy because unlike the Miami Heat where the Celtics swept in the regular season, they unfortunately did not sweep the Cleveland Cavaliers. You guys remember the March 5th game. They blew a 22-point lead by a name of Dean Wade, who popped off in the fourth quarter. But it wasn't just Dean Wade. Although they did not have Donovan Mitchell in this game, it was a lack of effort here from the Boston Celtics. So as long as they show me the effort they gave in games 3, 4, and 5 against the Miami Heat, I'm not worried. But with that being said, here are my keys to victory to defeat the Cleveland Cavaliers in as little games as possible heading into round 2. Number 1, squish the spider. Kill the spider. Swat him down. Do whatever you want. Spider, of course, being Donovan Mitchell, who, a lot like Jimmy Butler, does come alive when it is the postseason time. Here is what he did against the Orlando Magic. And I really thought the Magic were going to take this game away in Game 7, but by a name of Donovan Mitchell, they came back in the second half, really overcoming that deficit. And here's what he did in 7 games. He averaged nearly 30 points a game, 5 boards, 4.5 assists, shooting 46% from the field. The three-point percentage is also what's pretty alarming to me. 25% from downtown, but he still posted numbers of 38 points, 50 points, 30 points. He was still going off despite his 3-ball not falling. Not to mention, he had an historic Game 6 and Game 7 in round 1, 89 points. In both of those games combined, being the second best in NBA history. You want to know who's first? Allen Iverson in 2001. Donovan Mitchell is here to make a presence. We know he can pop off from any moment in the NBA playoffs, which is why I'm going to lead into my second key to victory in just 1 second, because I have to ask you guys, are you worried about facing Donovan Mitchell? He's obviously the playmaker. Unlike the Boston Celtics, he is the main key to winning against the Celtics, where the Celtics have so many resources they can rely on. It's pretty much Donovan Mitchell versus Boston. Of course, he's got some X factors in there. I'll talk about that a little bit later. But scale of 1 to 10, how worried are you about facing Donovan Mitchell in the postseason? Because like I said, my second key to victory here, if they do maintain their pace and effort, Donovan Mitchell can't keep up. Of course, it's not just one player against the entire team. It does take a team effort. But what we saw in Game 2 versus Miami is my biggest fear of what they will do against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Why? Because they've already done it. Hence, blowing a 22-point lead in March while they were on a win streak. They should have swept the Cavs in the regular season, but they let off in the fourth quarter and let Kansas State alum Dean Wade come back and take over the show. So, if you maintain your effort, if you maintain your pace, if you keep spreading out that offense, if you keep taking the most 3 balls you possibly can, because Boston is 43-10 this season when attempting at least 40 threes. The reason why they lost in game 2, not the only reason, but Smitty and I have talked about it, they didn't even take as many three-pointers as the Miami Heat did. They need to outshoot their opponents, continue that off-ball movement, especially because you're not going to have Kristaps Porzingis to rely on with that lob in the paint. You're going to have to start relying on that ISO and really trying to spread out the offense to outscore the Cleveland Cavaliers. And with that being said, you cannot let their X factors get hot because like the C's, they do have numerous resources on offense that just don't come to life as much as the Celtics resources do night in and night out. I've got 3 resources here that can definitely help Donovan Mitchell post double digits and take away this lead. Now, I took out Darius Garland because he is the secondary scorer here for the Cleveland Cavaliers. But here are 3 other factors that if they get hot, it could be hell for Boston. Max Strus, we've seen him dominate from the three-point line. He gives me very much Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero abilities to shoot, which can also be detrimental to the Boston Celtics. We just saw that in Game 2 versus Miami. Karis LeVert, he's also another shooter that if he gets hot, it could be damage for the C's. And then Evan Mobley, he's been really working overtime right now since Jarrett Allen has not been playing in the last 3 games for the Cleveland Cavaliers. So Mobley down low could be a problem without having Kristaps Porzingis there. But Dean Wade was ruled out indefinitely for that round 1 series against the Orlando Magic. He's been dealing with a knee injury, and he's also a huge X factor, as we saw in Game 3 versus the Cleveland Cavaliers in the regular season. The record with Dean Wade is 36-18. However, they do not have a winning record without having Dean Wade. So, makes me feel a little bit better that he put up those numbers against the Celtics, but this is a huge thing if Dean Wade does not come back in round 2. That takes out an X factor. Plus, Jarrett Allen has been hurt in the last 3 games of the Orlando Magic versus Cavalier series, so he's been out with a rib contusion, and I haven't heard any updates that if he is going to be okay. I've been following a lot of team reporters on when he will be able to come back, and a lot of times these last 3 games, he's been a game-time decision. So the Celtics will have to prepare for without Jarrett Allen and with Jarrett Allen, which once again will be tough without Kristaps Porzingis for the foreseeable future. Overall, I got Celtics in 6. I do think Mitchell can take one game by himself at home, especially since they beat the Celtics already at home in the regular season. But I think the C's have enough resources to take this one away, maybe in 5. It depends on how they adjust. I don't see this being a 20-point per game win over the Cavs in 3 games in a row. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers have more to offer than Miami does, but I think the Celtics have adjusted without Kristaps Porzingis in the regular season, and now they have taken over the Miami Heat in Game 5. They've been practicing without KP, and I think they can lock this up, move on in 6. With that being said, those are just 3 of my keys to victories for the Celtics to beat the Cleveland Cavaliers. Go on ahead and name your keys to victory down below. Let's talk about it here on Celtics Today by Chat Sports.